Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. To some of you and peace out to the rest of you. Hit the share button because the message is more important than the messenger. So, getting right to it, man. I want to thank you all for that very overwhelming support of my last upload regarding that hyena monkey bitch on the stage with Anton Daniels. And from you all's overwhelming support, I learned her name, Randi Rossario. And I learned from you guys what's important. I did not know she was married. I did not know that she had a child. I did not know that her only child is from that marriage. I did not know that she had walked the walk of the lioness. Sometimes we tend to say, well, I don't care what you say, I care what you do. But in reality, sometimes you have to look at why somebody would do the right thing and say the wrong thing. Now, actions can explain what somebody's words mean. But in this case, what her words meant still go against her actions. She actually reproductively went about things the right way and still advocates for the wrong way. So what she's still pretty much saying is, okay, I'm going to cheat myself. And this is insight that I have now because of the information you guys shared with me. I mentioned before multiple times how amongst my students, especially years ago, my good students felt this need to reach back and defend my students that were weak. So when I taught these advanced courses, teaching the last English classes that some students were going to get before they don't take any more English classes and they have to start studying their major subjects in English, I would tell them, this is your last free English class. Costs about $40 an hour to get private English lessons. So this is the last time, this is the last class where you're not going to be shelling out $40 an hour. That's 150 real. I told them, you guys are going to have a chance now to fix certain errors and make your English actually better, closer to native level speaker. This is your chance. The distance between you and being a native level speaker, you can cut in half in this class if you take it seriously. And many of them would. I wound up getting students that had some sort of foundation in English, but I also wound up in every section with somebody that just didn't have a good foundation in English and we couldn't communicate. If I talked to them in Arabic, it wouldn't work because their language skills in general were just shot. They only spoke Saudi slang specific to whatever city it was and nothing else. Like they didn't, even a news reporter could talk over their head. These guys, I'll tell you straight, they would have protectors and defenders. They would cheat and they would have classmates that were good in English that would defend they stankin' asses. Some of them were respectful, but they didn't belong and they cheated. And others were disrespectful and they did not belong and they still cheated. And I would have to say to them, listen, you cheated, you're getting a 0. And sometimes other students will come up and say, he's weak, go easy on him. He doesn't know English. Well, what the fuck is he doing in an advanced English class if he doesn't know any English at all? It's not my job to start from ABC 1, 2, 3. Fuck you. Not in this class. Now, if I'm starting at a class like that, even then I can't do anything for them because they're supposed to know something from high school. But we're talking the last English class you are going to take. That means you've taken a bunch of them before. You've taken between 6 to 12 years of English before. This is the last one you're going to take. We're now down to the last 8 weeks of you taking any English class at all. And you're sitting up telling me to go easy on this rat bastard who doesn't know a fucking thing from high school or middle school or elementary school or the previous university classes. Go easy on him because he doesn't understand me. Why didn't somebody give his dumb ass an F before he cheated to get all the way up here? It's time for him to fail. But this is his last class. Just let him go. No, 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 no. Now he's really close to his goal. This is the best time to catch his stankin' ass. You want me to wait until he goes and kills somebody in a job for which he was unqualified because nobody told the truth about him being unqualified? Eventually, I had to start telling my students, if you are one of the students that did what they're supposed to do and you're ready for this, do not come to me defending students that were not ready. Don't do it. Or I will treat you the way I will treat them. I don't treat my students equally. Some of you are ready for this. Some of you are not. I'm going to treat y'all differently. Some of you cheated to get here. Some of you don't know the English from the last class, but you're still here somehow. I'm not going to treat you the same as someone that knows what they're supposed to know from the last class. They belong here. You don't. I'll treat you badly. And some students are going to say, well, he's just racist against Arabs. No, because Arabs ain't a race. That's a language group, and I am biased against any student that cheats to get where they are. I told you how it affects this country, how it affects certain things here. The mindset here, while this country is very safe, and that is for what I'm grateful, that does not mean that the country has actually achieved its full potential. It has not. It is not. The fact that they have to have speed bumps. Oh, yeah, in Saudi, it's a major problem. They have to have speed bumps everywhere you go on these roads, on these highways. They have to have them because otherwise people will drive dangerously fast down small residential streets and just kill folks. Now, they won't murder, but when they do kill someone, they'll get out of the car and they'll go off Qadr Allah. In other words, they'll try to say it was the will of Allah instead of saying my stupid ass should have driven more slowly. What the F am I rushing for if I don't have any reason to rush? Because a lot of times they don't. But they don't have any patience either. They don't have to really rush, but they don't have any patience. So therefore, you see how that goes? You see what I'm getting at now? They don't have to have speed bumps every few feet on streets in any other Gulf nation. I'm telling you, they don't have to. I've been to Qatar. I've been to the UAE. I've been to Bahrain. I've been to Oman. The only Gulf nation that I've never been into now at this point is Kuwait. It's the only one. But I've lived in Saudi. There's a reason they got speed bumps everywhere. They got a bunch of widows who lost their husbands to car accidents. And that was years ago. They thought it was cowardly to put on a seatbelt when you're driving. Can you imagine that? They ran red lights habitually. I'm saying that because what you're seeing is this exact same mindset in Randi Rossario. She did the right thing, but she feels some sort of loyalty to a low vibrational element. And that is what Black women's culture is. So it is time. I mean, Black men and Black women now have to be separate in the West because our culture is not theirs. We're looking and saying this culture is dysfunctional. We're not doing this anymore. We're going to have a functional culture. That's Black culture. And the women are sitting up and saying, we're going to romanticize the culture, but we're going to maintain the dysfunction of it. That's who they are and that's what they are. You can't reason with them. You got to look at somebody like Randi Rossario for what she is. And part of the reason for that is because since the hyenocracy is the majority and the very loud voice of the women's side of the population, what it does is that it creates an opportunity for some ladies to be overcredited by simply not doing what the hyenas do. But they know that that's what it is, and that's why they tell you to give the hyenas leeway to do what they do. paternity fraud or the dual mating strategy without the fraud element of it, whichever the hell one it is. No, let them do it. Get over it. I married and my child is from my wedding, but don't judge the women that are out here becoming single baby mamas and then trying to get with you to be the stepdad. Don't judge them for that. You see where this is going. These broads are crazy. They're sitting up saying to you that it is your job to be okay with the same BS they would never tolerate from you. Imagine a woman knowing that because you're a single dad, you're with her, that she could have never gotten you when you didn't have any children and you didn't have to spend that money on them kids. Now, she may not want you when you don't have kids. I mean, Edward Allen Anderson has talked about this before. There are women that don't want men without kids. But imagine if she knew that you would not want her if you did not have kids to raise. Now that changes things. That's different. That's altogether something else. Now that's sitting up and looking and saying, okay, you know what? He set up and made a choice and he got his choice. I don't like that. I got to ruin that. He got his way. I got to ruin that. The ignorant, dumb shit that they say, they get away with saying. See, even Minnie F. Baby seemed to be playing a character. Because when I look at her post, they're always some sort of rage bait. She may be playing a character that's not really as bad, that's far worse than what she is really, really like in her real life, despite what she said on that podcast. But why would she play that character if that's really what's going on? Why would her post always be something that is very insulting on a genetic level to men? Because that's what the hyenocracy allows. It gets attention from the men, but the hyenocracy also is not going to call her a pick-me bitch sellout for that. There's that too. And that's what Randi Rossario was pretty much saying. Okay, I did it the right way, but I'm scared of these hyena monkey bitches, so I'm going to be one. In terms of what I preach, my sermon is going to be that. And this has happened before. Have not pastors of churches, emotional pulpit pimps, sat up and walked the right path in many cases, not having affairs? I'm talking the ones who don't cheat on their wives, don't have outside kids, still sitting up and saying, well, we're not going to judge and we're not going to condemn this. Now, shuck that fit. Somebody can repent, but we're going to condemn the immorality of that choice. There's a church now that's being confronted about that. Because the pastor had the girl come up and apologize. Now, she didn't owe the apology to the congregation, but what the pastor was saying is, this is wrong, and it was wrong. Where's the dad? Well, that is the question. He's got to be up there too. Yeah, I was wrong. Dad's got to be up there. But how you going to prove he's dad? See, look. It's worse. Now, I appreciate the information that you guys gave me, but that tells you, and tells everyone listening that it's even worse than what we thought it was from the very beginning. Randi Rossario sat up there and showed why you do not marry the Westernisha. That white woman that lives next to Joe Budden shows why you don't marry them. And some say, well, white women don't do to us what Keisha did. There are more white women that'll pull a joke that will take you to court like Joe Budden's neighbor did to him than there are that will screw your brains out and make you a sandwich afterwards. The difference is that the ones that will make you a sandwich after they screw your brains out will come and get you. So they're easier to find because they'll come trying to get with you. They'll flirt with you. They'll ask you if you're interested in what. They come for you. That's the difference. Keishas don't do that. Keisha doesn't come for you until she's got some other man's kids and a bunch of debt and a life that's wrecked. Then she comes for you. Most white women are just like Keisha in that regard. They might be a little nicer about it. Instead of telling you that you owe them when their lives are jacked up, they're more likely to do that to their own men. And just leave you alone as long as you leave them alone. Now, that's really what winds up being the case. Leave these West Tanishas alone, whether it's Becky or Bonquisha. Leave them be. You don't marry them. And I understand now that that marrying them is actually in and of itself a fundamental conflict of interest. And it is always you that has to give up your interest in order to marry them. Because what do they want? They don't even call it a marriage unless you marry them in front of the state when you were successful without a prenup. All of these three things work against you if the other two are in place. And they always demand that all three of them are in place so that you get a triple whammy. In front of the state, no prenup when you are doing well. They won't marry you otherwise. Put a prenup in front of them. I don't want to do that. All of a sudden, they don't want marriage no more. Well, goddamn. See, what they're saying is what they call a commitment is you setting yourself up to pay for them to break the commitment. That's what they call a commitment. Otherwise, it's not a commitment. And their fathers will sit up and enforce this shit too. So while if you want to get, it's funny because if you're looking to get married and you don't have everything together yet, your dad will sit up and tell you what that other girl's rights are. I will tell my son what the rights are of the woman that he wants to marry. I'm concerned about my son's rights and his future wife's rights. Both. I'm like that, but I'm trying to be fair to both of them. But you can sit up and try to get married, and your own mother will sit up and tell you about the other woman's rights, and your dad will tell you about that. Your responsibility to her. But when it comes down to a lady wanting you to commit to her, then her dad will cater to her and her mom will cater to her. At no point does anybody sit her down and say, listen, you want him to marry you in front of the state when he's doing well and with no prenup. And then you can just leave when you want and cash out, get cash and prizes. What you are defining as a commitment is him setting himself up to pay you to break the commitment. Who's going to tell her that? Nobody. If that's what you have in this type of situation, you don't marry because it's a conflict of interest, and it is always you required to compromise your interest because they won't compromise theirs. They feel like they're compromising because you're not a perfect man. You're not from Krypton, bulletproof, with laser vision and able to fly. And, if you get enough sleep, you can fly over and change the trajectory of the moon either. That's how they view it. So they feel like they're settling. They compromise. Yeah, I compromise for you. And Randy Rossario showed you that even if you do all of this to commit to one of them and marry them, they're going to sit on a stage and they are going to say things that are disrespectful to men in general. After a man committed to her. And they feel comfortable doing it because if they disrespect men in general, then you stand your ground and you say, shut the F up. Don't talk like that no more. Next time you on stage, who you think you ought to tell me what to do, then she leaves and she keeps the kids and she gets cash and prizes if she qualifies for them according to the marriage and divorce laws of that state. You see where this is going? She showed why you don't marry. She explained why. And that wasn't even what she was trying to tell you. In the course of her trying to tell you to marry and to commit, she showed you why you never should, at least not with the state government involved. And even now, they'll sit up and say, well, you didn't marry in front of the state, but you introduced her as a wife or you lived with her or whatever the case is. We're still going to give her alimony because she sued for it. And, you got the pussy for this many years. And you could turn around and be like, I didn't even get them drawers once she moved in. Yeah, well, y'all live together. Ugh. You can't win for losing. And that's how it's set up. And you're sitting up here thinking that you're being a man because you're tolerating a bad deal. I'm telling you, don't accept stuff like that. Not for a second. They will not respect you. They will not love you more for it. They don't become more attached. They don't think of you as hell. They think of you as stupid and being a fool because you went along with it. But if you didn't, they'd leave for someone that will. And then they think he's a fool and lose respect for him because he took the deal. And when he wises up, then they leave him for someone else that's going to be just as stupid. So by their own rules, they cannot marry someone they respect because they turn marriage into something they can't respect a man if he's willing to do. You can't win this. You never could. That's why it is I tell you that when these Western bitches say no in the first place, say no to the draws, you shouldn't be chasing fornication, no way. But when they say no, you got to understand that the reason why you get ticked off about it is because you know deep down it's not about chastity. It's not about doing the right thing. It's about them saying no to you so that they can later say you don't get no pussy. But they're the ones saying no. You can see through that stuff on a subconscious level. You just haven't articulated yet and you're ticked about it. Now, you should be ticked at yourself for chasing fornication and pursuing it, but you still have the right to look at them like, you hypocrite bitch. You're not saying the right thing for the right reason. You're saying it for the wrong reason. In this case, this broad did the right thing and still said the wrong thing because she wants to be extra shiny she just wants to be a shinier hyena. She wants there to be a bunch of hyenas to make her look even better despite her funky ass attitude. Get over it. Okay, bitch, you get over something. We don't want single moms when we're childless. Get over it. Some really successful men with children don't want single moms. Get over that. See, that's how you know something's wrong. You got to get over it and somebody else doesn't. That's why I tell you, do not make the mistake of thinking that the white manosphere is our allies. They will quickly say, nigga, get over it. But they don't have to get over a damn. They'll tell you to get over atrocities their grandparents committed. They didn't do it, but the grandparents did. But they tell you get over it while they love and worship the grandparents. Not love them just, but worship them. Because they believe that the wrong their grandparents did was within their right. That's worship. They feel their grandparents had a right to disobey God. That's worship. They will do this, tell you to get over some atrocities, but they can't get over their bitch looking at you up and down because you got muscles and some melanin. So they have the sense to blame their bitch, though they blame you even if you didn't do anything. Sometimes, some of you guys in Black Manosphere have the sense to blame the hyena monkey bitch on our side of the color line. But you actually look at the white manosphere and white men in general like they're no longer the enemy. Bruh, they're not going to stop being that. Individuals amongst them are not going to be that way. Many of them as individuals are not interested in that, but their collective society still is. Now, I could go into how you could tell that and how a recent natural disaster or man-made disaster. And California is evidence of that, but I'm going to say that for another time. Right now, what I want you to understand is that this broad set up here and showed you why you do not marry in the West in front of the state. With or without a prenup, preferably, but damn sure not without one. And damn sure not when you're doing well. In other words, why you damn sure don't marry them according to the terms they want, because it's war. And you'll notice everything they want is something bad for your ass. Even if they don't want it, they still demand it because it's bad for your ass. So don't do it. Don't give them what they want because they're at war with you. What they want has to involve something that's not good for you. Sometimes what they want isn't bad for you, but they still will decide that they will forego what they want because it's not bad for you. These are enemies. I hate to say it like that. It would sound like I'm trying to set you up for somebody else to come along later and turn you into 9AY, but into that alphabet coalition. But that's not what I want. That's unnatural for anybody, men or women. But I do want you to understand that you're in a context, you're in a situation in which they are enemies. I'm not blaming you for that. It ain't your fault. You didn't do it. They did, but they're enemies. And you can't marry them. You can't commit to them. You can't, don't even play with them. They're not going to let you just play and leave. That's not how they operate. I don't think an escort would do that. You're doing well enough for yourself and you resort to an escort for a little temporary sport just to take a vacation from the unnaturalness or the unnatural effects of celibacy and long-term chastity, I should say, and abstinence. Just that. And she sees that you're doing well. She'll try to latch on. She's an escort. She's in it for the money. Why not get more money if she can? And I don't want you guys subject to that. So with that being said, gentlemen, I hope this helps out. And I really, really do appreciate the support y'all showed me for the last one. Man, I mean, this was like hundreds of I think I started off in the first 2 hours with 200 views. Thank you. I mean that. I appreciate that. And thank you for to those who have come through in the Cash App before. Now, nobody sent any Cash App after this video, and that's okay. But I also want to thank the new members on the Frequent Flyers Lounge at the Buy Me a Coffee address. I really do appreciate you all's support, too. And I would recommend that for those of you that have joined, go ahead and hit that share button for some others because there's more content coming soon, inshallah. As always, Black Heart, Black Mind, Blackout, Black heterosexual non-select male power because they don't like it, because Randi Rossario doesn't like it, Black patriarch until extinction of Judgment Day. And thank you for flying with us again here on Jet Black Air, where the phrase Jet Black is also a verb. Keep Jet Black with us till the wings and the wheels fall off. Gender justice forever.